Welcome. Hello, everyone. So glad that you're here. Welcome to our webinar. I am Dawn Lego. Have the pleasure of being your host and moderator today. We have a very large crowd, so I'm going to let you get all settled and cozied in with us. There were just so many familiar names on our registration list. So if we've worked together before, hi again. If we haven't, glad to now call you my friend, and we're so glad that you're here. Over the next 55-ish minutes, we are going to pack as much as we possibly can into this session and take a little ride together, a little educational journey, as I like to call it. So I guess what we're trying to do is really figure out events. What's in events 2.0 or whatever number you're on? How do we stand out? How do we figure out what's next? So let's go ahead and kick things off in the chat. Now that you know me, please go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us where you're joining from, what beverage you're drinking. I am doing a dark chocolate hazelnut coffee. It's delicious. It'll carry me through this webinar. But I also want to try one other exercise, if you don't mind. Put into the chat, rank this in order: mission, experience, community. Now I know it's really hard to separate them. It's like, oosh, but there's no right, wrong answer, no judgment. I feel like at one time it was mission all day, every day, and that was the only day. But I would really love to see what you all do in the ranking. I'm going to check it out here. Nobody's replying. Come on. Mission. Oh, community. Interesting. Community. Yeah, that's really coming up. You're all ranking community first. All right, panelists, take a look at that. Experience. Very good. I'm surprised. I'm seeing a lot of community, but I think that's maybe what this is all about, right? So we are talking about signature events. I think that is a very community building type of event. What is it? How do I get one? And hey, I want my donors to anticipate my fundraiser every year. So in order to do that, we have a hand-picked all-star panel with us today. They are the best of the best for this topic and for so many other topics. So I can't wait to get started with them. We're going to try to bring as much value as we can to this session. But before we jump in, quick housekeeping, because we do want you to get the most out of this experience. So first, a quick shout out to my colleague, Sarah O'Brien. She's running programming and operations, and that's why everything is running smoothly today. So thank you, Sarah. We do have closed captioning enabled for those who need it. You will receive the full session recording in our follow-up email, so please keep an eye out for that. And we do make our sessions available on the Auction Packages YouTube channel, so you can revisit all the key takeaways, easily share with your team, and while you're there, please subscribe. Little shameless plug. As a reminder, this session is eligible for 1 CFRE credit, but you do need to stay for the full session to qualify. And please be interactive. You know, we're doing this to be helpful, to answer some questions, get you what you need. So don't be shy. We love a good emoji moment in the comments. But if you have a question, you can get started now. My colleague, Siri Lippy, who was a panelist on our last webinar, who you all fell in love with, what's not to love, but she's on standby. We're all here to answer your questions, the panelists as well. So there is a QA feature in Zoom. It's probably right below you. That's where you can drop a question that you need answered. We can track that easier than the chat that kind of bubbles up fastly. So please go ahead. If you have questions right now, go ahead and get started. The QA feature is the best way to get your answers. So last thing I want to go over is you will see a short survey at the end. So if we didn't get to one of your questions, drop it in there. Please let us know what other content you need so we can move that, integrate that into our programming. And let us know how we did today. You know, we want to be accountable, and we'd love to know if you liked this session. So a little surprise for those who participate, we will put you in a random drawing for an Amazon gift card. Who doesn't love to get an Amazon gift card? So we hope somebody will be rewarded with one today. So all right, let's get into it. Here's how we will spend our time. Quick run through on the agenda. All about signature events, how they stand out, how do they create a stronger donor connection, and how do we just capture that year-round momentum. All right, so that's it for housekeeping. It is time to introduce your amazing panelists. Let's go in this order. Quick introductions. We want, our audience introduce themselves. I introduced myself. Now it's all your turn. Why don't we go TK first, then Joe, Casey, Chris, and Livia. Let's go in that order. TK, take it away. Tell us all about Tawana Keeney.
My name is Tawana, but I go by TK, and I'm a benefit auctioneer based in Austin, Texas, but I get the privilege of working with incredible organizations all across the United States and amazing partners just like Auction Packages. So I am delighted to be here to share with you from the auctioneer side, what I see, what I experience, and give you some best practices there because I have a few special things that makes me different than other auctioneers that you may have experienced in the past. And it really starts in that pre-event planning process. So any questions you have on that side, ideas that you've been ruminating on, please reach out to me, give me a shout for that, and I'll be more than happy to explore those options with you.
All right, I'm Casey Murphy. I sit in Atlanta and I'm the Assistant Vice President for Signature Events at the MS Society for the Southeast. I come with 17 years of experience across nonprofit and nonprofit tech. And with a lot of my experience being in obviously signature events and multi-million dollar events and fundraising. So I'm excited to talk about what we're seeing at the MS Society and some of our philosophies about signature events.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Joe Roller. I'm with Pledge It. We are a fundraising platform, a special event fundraising platform for nonprofits. I've been there for about 4 years, and I talk to nonprofits every day about how to make the most out of technology for their events and really just how to really just special strategies in helping with special event fundraising. I also have another hat that I wear. I am the board chair elect of the Eastern Pennsylvania Down Syndrome Center. I have a nephew with Down syndrome, so it's something that's very important to me, both personally and professionally. So we run a buddy walk every year, so I can tell you a little bit about what that's like from a personal perspective as well.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Thanks to Dawn and the Auction Packages team for having us today. My name is Chris O'Shea. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of C2 Auctions. We're based here in Washington, D.C., and we provide expert professional development, data management, and event day support services to clients primarily here in the DC area, but like TK, we also have clients across the country. So we're really excited to bring some of our experience and expertise to this conversation. It's great to be here with all the other panelists, and I'll turn it over to my colleague Livia, who is kind enough to join as well today.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you, Don and Auction Packages, for having me as well. Looking forward to the next hour. I'm Livia Christensen. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer with C2 Auctions. And like Joe, I wear various hats. I'm also on the board in the independent school world. And so with that, I have close to 20 years of experience in the fundraising world, both independent schools, nonprofit organizations. I live and breathe it every day, and I'm excited to share some of our experiences and maybe advice with all of you today.
Yeah, did I say we had a fantastic panel? We sure do. I've had the pleasure of working with all of you, and it feels like families come back together again. So let's get into it. We're going to start. I'm going to channel my inner Julie Andrews and start at the very beginning here. Signature event. When I hear that, I know what it is, but I don't know that I know how to articulate it if anyone were to ask me. So let's start right there. What is a signature event and what does that mean in practice? And Joe, I think you're going to kick us off with a really great answer that I think just sums it all up. So, how about we start with you?
Sure, great. I think there are a lot of different ways that you can define what is a signature event, depending on the organization. But I really think one of the at the most basic level, a signature event is when the format becomes the brand. When you recognize the brand from the format of the event, whether it's a buddy walk with Down syndrome organizations, Bike MS, Dancing with the Stars for this particular region or organization. When that format becomes the brand, I think that is a telltale sign that this is a signature event for this organization in this community.
Yeah, so for our audience, we didn't just join the webinar today and wing it. We've been, creating the content, the questions, the answers. And when I saw Joe write that, I was like, there it is, when the format or the program becomes the brand. I think that's the best way to articulate it. But I want to get a little backup on that from C2 Auctions, either Chris or Livia. How do you answer that question? When you hear signature event, what does it mean in practice?
All right, Joe, I love that configuration that you've come up with there, and I think I would add on to that and kind of fit in there that along the same lines. A signature event to me has an audience, like a dedicated base audience that comes year after year, and that the audience really knows, could articulate to, you know, other folks or potential supporters what the event is about. And so they're very well versed in the impact. And to me, the signature event, can look different across different organizations, but to me, it's about the impact of a particular event. And when, like Joe said, when the impact is very clear, uh, that's kind of the signature element rather than any particular bell or whistle that you're adding to the event itself.
Yeah. So Casey, you've had a lot of experience. I think you said 17 years, right? And you're leading signature events right now. What is the moment where an event shifts that it's, not just a fundraiser? I hate using the word just in front of fundraiser, but when it shifts from fundraiser or an event to being signature, what is that thing that you feel shifts that now? Oh, yeah,
Yeah. I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with of like it feels like this amorphous concept of what changes, right, between a we're doing this event to this is a signature event. And I think it's really about the identity of the event, aligning with your community and your audience, obviously, and the kind of expectation around the event. So, is it an event that people are asking about before the date's been announced? When is this happening this year? Like people are now looking forward to it. They know it's a thing. They want to be a part of it. Do you have sponsors who are renewing early and increasing their participation without having to, be strong-armed into it because they are seeing the benefit of being a part of this signature event? And are your guests bringing new people with them? Is it something that they're excited to share with their community that's growing that community? So I think, it's one of those things where we want to do more than be event planners, right? So it's logistics are important, but it's so much about, is this the event, for the community and audience that you've identified, that people are recognizing, they know it's you, they know what you're about, your mission is clearly communicated, and you've got that consistency and elevated experience and that sense of ownership in the community that really sets it apart.
Yeah, I love that. One I heard a lot is the word community, Casey. And interestingly enough, in the chat, we saw community is really a priority, not that experience and mission isn't, right? But it seems like a signature event and community really, really go hand in hand. So I want to turn it over to TK now. TK, we're going to call you TK, right? You're not going to make me say Tawana for every time. TK, right? So, what are the core traits that you see in events? Because you're on the stage, you have a great view of what's going on there. What are the traits that you feel make it like recognizable and repeatable?
That's a really good question. So the first thing I think when I hear of a signature event is that it's a feeling. It has nothing to do with the format. It's a feeling. It's a place that you walk into and you say that this space, without mistake, belongs to insert name of organization. There's no way that it can feel like you're at an event that does the same work, an event that's adjacent to you. This event feels organic to who you are. That may mean that it's your guests dressed up in ball gowns or your guests coming in their most comfortable attires. I'm waiting for someone to do a pajama gala. I'm just waiting for it. Side note, good idea. People will come, they'll go crazy. Anywho, so I think, but it's organic to many people, right? That's something that the comfortability of being in a space to hear a mission that may be too heavy. What makes me feel like I'm being wrapped up into a hug? And when I look at things from the stage, I 100% am always putting myself in the seat of your donor, not your guest, not your audience, your donor. What does this moment feel like to them? What does this moment say when they are looking at this? Do they understand that this is very specifically TK organization? And when I say TK, I mean Tawana Kinney, not any other TK that can exist. And if it's not organic, if it's following a format because you're doing it because pomp and circumstance says that that's how it needs to be, the first thing is that your donors will see that it's not authentic. And if you're not able to give them an authentic experience, why are we doing this? If we're not here to say what our values are and celebrate that and celebrate the work we do, why are we here? That's what signature feels like to me on the stage, feeling like I belong. And without mistake, this is the right place to be. And this is what I signed up for, even if I didn't know it when I came in.
Wow. Wow, I belong, community. We're seeing a pattern here. Livia, can you back that up with a little bit more flavor? What are the traits that make an event recognizable and repeatable?
And that is exactly it. It is community. It is that human relationship with the guests, with the donors. If an event is not repeatable, not sustainable because staff is burned out, you keep tapping into the same people in a stale way over and over again, that's not going to work. So what you really want to achieve as an organization is that your staff, your advancement office, your leadership is available at the end at the event. They have to be visible. They have to mingle with the people. They have to talk about the mission. That is the most important aspect, really, because a guest or a prime donor or a guest thinking about becoming a donor, they don't, yes, they want a good party, but at the same time, they also really want to feel special and they want to feel that it's meaningful to the organization that they are present. And so there needs to be bandwidth by the organization to really pay attention to the donors and the guests at the event, before the event, and after the event. And that way, also, it makes it recognizable and signature because it's not just any other event where you show up, you do your reception, you bid on the auction, you go home. It's an event where you actually feel welcome and wanted and special.
Got it. Got it. I'm sold. Okay, signature event. We're headed down that path. Let's get into some practical, how do we do this, right? So where do we get started? We know we're fundraisers and we're event fundraisers. Maybe we know how to do that, but now we want to create that belonging, the authenticity, the community that you're all talking about. Where are we getting started? Joe, please help.
I mean, this is know your audience, know your audience, know your audience. I think that's what it comes down to. I mean, if someone asks me what they need to do to get a signature event started on a Thursday night in New York, that's going to be much different than, a signature event that's happening in Houston on a Saturday night. I think you have to think about it in kind of layers. There's different regions, there's different communities, and there are a lot of nuances within those. So with knowing your audience, I know that means, picking up the phone, calling your donors and supporters and asking them what would make this a signature event for you. It's looking around at the other events in the community and seeing what's successful, not necessarily repeating or copying anything that's already doing well, but it's going to help to give you a sense of what works in this community and what is going to work for our organization. And you can only figure that out by speaking with your supporters and your donors and your community.
Know your audience. Okay. Clearly noted. Casey, what about bigger, does that mean better or not necessarily?
Yeah, I think that's one of the other things that we can fall into the trap of when it comes to signature events is that it'll be a signature event when it gets to a certain number of people in the room. And I think that, it's that, and it's if we make it a truly, show-stopping event, and we focus so much on aesthetics that that's going to be what does it. And both of those can be great, and can help, but I think that it is about focusing on what your community wants, making sure that you're clearly communicating mission, all of these things that we're talking about in, and we need to make sure we don't get caught up in the aesthetics and in wanting to be the biggest event, because then we're talking expenses, right? And at the end of the day, we've got to look at what we're making net. And having more people in the room sometimes doesn't mean you're raising more money. It just means you're feeding more people. So we got to make sure we have the right people in the room, and that we are creating an event that makes sense. And if it makes sense to have a giant event, fantastic, right? I've been a part of a 1,000-person event, and just about everyone in the room was spending money, and it worked for us, right? And I've been a part of some where I'm like, this event is far too big, and if you look at our data, 30% of the people are participating in our fundraising, and the rest are just here for a good time. And we want
Yeah,
to throw a good party, but it can't just be a good party. So I
right.
think that those two things, we really got to focus on our revenue goals, and our audience, and not try and focus on upgrading aesthetics and and size, above fundraising strategy.
And
Yes,
Casey, to that point, I mean, I really wholeheartedly agree, and I think there's a real fine line between being creative in the building of your signature event and being gimmicky in
Yeah.
your signature event. And a gimmick or like some flashy distinguishing factor is not going to take your event from 0 to 100, right? The best signature events, and this picks up on what Joe said, they're built brick by brick, and this is not going to happen in 1 year. It might not happen in 2 years or 3 years, right? It might take time to do this. And the fundamentals of the fundraising are the same. I love what Joe said about picking up the phone for your donors, like asking folks what they might be interested in, what would bring them to the table in a more in a bigger way. So I think I I 100% agree that we need to focus on the fundamentals. It's okay to be creative with some distinguishing factors, but don't center that in the creation of your signature event, because it will happen over time, with a focus on your audience in a very systematic way.
I love the patience, the brick by brick, right? We stay to your true north, steady drumbeat, you'll get there. So I love that message. So now we need to know our audience, right? We're talking about authenticity, belonging, community. We're going to establish this over time. But it's a tough call to align your audience with your event format. So, TK, can I throw it over to you? How do you ensure like your event format actually aligns with the audience, and not really what maybe the committee or the organization wants to produce? That's a tough question, but we'll get a couple of you to respond. TK, can we start with you on that one?
Absolutely. So committees are such a gift and sometimes a hindrance in some ways because you want to honor them in the moment. You want to be able to give them the thank you for their time and their commitment, but also you have to be confident enough when you have a committee to set the pace and understanding of it's not about the committee, it's about the people in the room. It's about the other donors. If this committee isn't the one that's planning on giving 100% of the funds and buying 100% of your items and clapping 100% of the time, then we have to keep in mind the people that are going to do that. And so the committee is here to help us enhance that experience, and you have to be able to give them an honest read. The worst thing that an organization can do is have a committee come in and not give them the parameters of what matters to them. And again, that authenticity. We can always feel when it's not real. We know when what we're saying isn't organic. And we know when we're in a space that feels like something is just a bit off. So the first thing I'd say is that when you have a committee, make sure you have someone in charge or working and collaborating with them that is strong enough and confident enough to one, honor them, but also set and respect the boundaries of what the organization is doing. And then two, make sure that we welcome all ideas. We make everything feel like a brainstorm and we select what our room needs, not what we need. Because fundraising isn't about one single person. It really is about the people who are giving the dollars. And we just also can't design a room and a program around one single donor either. It may be great to have a super donor who's going to give us $500,000 in the night, but we also have to say, does that mean that they're the only dollar who matters? Because what happens when they move on to the next? We have to keep our intestinal fortitude about what the room needs and who we are and find that balance in between the two.
Yeah. So, Casey, I need to turn it to you because I'm sure our audience wants to hear from you. How do you balance that, right? Your board, your volunteers, everyone's a fundraiser at that point, right? How do you keep the committees, the planning team on track so that you're staying focused on the true north and aligned with the audience? Sure, everybody wants to know how you accomplish that.
Yeah, well, I think that that's one thing that, hopefully you guys won't get tired of me hearing it, but I will probably keep coming back to um, is there should be a framework and a journey, right? That we are planning around for our guests. What do we want them to feel? What do we want them to do? And how do we want them to respond because of that? And I think that once we have those kind of pillars in place for an event, it is it's easier to kind of get people aligned who might have different takes on what they want to see, because we have sort of a guideline of, does this help us accomplish these things in terms of what do we want them to feel in the event? And that can be from, what the event looks like. That can be design, but a lot of it's going to come from program, right? And how you've designed their experience from before the event even started to what you're talking about in the room, what you want them to do, in the room, and how they're going to be engaged and how you're going to have them respond. And obviously, we know what our ideal response is, but are we designing the events to elicit that response? And so, I think that that is where it really comes down to, is you got to start at those basics of, this is our foundation, and anything we do for our event, we've got to check it against this and see if it's furthering these goals. Because if it's not, it might still happen, but it's less important. If it's not furthering and helping us accomplish those, then that's what we need alignment on. And I think that if you can get, your board and your committees and your volunteers and your staff kind of following in that same vision, I think that that's the place to start.
And keep it in the urgent and important quadrant there, right?
Yeah.
Keep focused.
And tagging on to that intention really also is important to convey in terms of limits and goal reaching to your board, especially also to the volunteers. More, and we talked about this, more does not mean more. More means you lose focus, lose track, the program becomes unwieldy, the auction gets out of control, everyone is already done with the event before the event has even started. So keep that intention. What do I want my guests to experience? They want to come have a good time. They want to hear about the mission. They want to donate. And that needs to be the mission. And so having 300 auction items in a silent auction is not going to do the trick. So reining in your committee and your board and making the goal setting really clear. And when you reach that goal, stop and focus on the next thing, and that will just really allow your event to feel a lot more effortless also to the guest and donor, and hence make them want to come back and contribute to your organization.
And
You
I
really
think looking at that, Oh,
Right?
sorry, Don. I think looking at that, whether you are building your signature event for the first time or you have a long-running signature event already, those questions that Casey laid out are really important to kind of pull up and evaluate from time to time. I am 100% sure that no one who's on right now falls into this category, but nonprofits in general can be very, very, very slow to make changes, very risk averse, and very likely to be doing things just the way we did it last year. And that actually is tough. So I think sometimes you need to pull up, ask yourself those questions, identify, are there parts of this event that need to be changed? Are there parts of this event that need to be, maybe put to the side for this year? And thinking about that in a critical way every so often is very important to do.
Good audit, sure, of what you're doing, because we can't keep doing the same thing the same way and think we're going to get different results.
Exactly.
Sure. So we heard about designing the experience. So let's just jump into that. And I'd love to hear from each of you. What are the elements that move this event from the transactional to the experiential, from fundraising to connection? Let's design it. Let's do this for our audience right here, right now. Joe, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think the biggest part of this is to get your audience involved, right? Whether it's a silent auction, a live auction, a raffle, whatever you're doing, I think getting the audience involved somehow is key to their experience for the night. I keep thinking about what TK said earlier about feeling like it needs to be like a warm hug. Like it's just stuck in my brain now, and I'm probably going to steal that, TK, and
Me
use it
too.
for
Me,
other
honestly,
organizations. But it's that feeling that you're going for, and you can only get that feeling by getting people involved, whether it's in one of those things, whether it's a conversation with your executive director or somebody on your board with these folks. It's figuring out some way to engage as many people as possible. So they see what your organization is about, and they see what you are about individually, and they can choose to support you either in that moment or through some type of follow-up. But I think getting people involved is the best way. And even if it's not on event night, one of the big things that we do at the Down Syndrome Center to make sure we're following up after each event is to get individuals with Down syndrome, to make a few calls to folks and ask them about their experience and things like that. If we didn't get a chance to talk to them at the event, at least they're going to hear from somebody after the event. So those touch points, I think, are just really important.
I love that. We're going to stay on designing the experience. I really love that, Joe, because I want to hear from everyone. So TK, to you, Joe just said get everybody involved. Well, sometimes that's your job, right? It falls on you. How do we go about doing that?
I think setting the intentions, something that Casey said earlier that resonates with me, and I say a version of that also, we have to understand all the feelings that we want people, what we want them to feel, what we want them to know, and what we want them to do. And then we build everything around those experiences. But it doesn't just start with the auctioneer. And I feel like a lot of nonprofits believe the auctioneer is the one person who's responsible for it, but it's not. I think of it like a comedy show. If you have a comedian come up, your headliner, and there's a reason there are people warming up the room. They're getting the room warmed up because you don't want to walk into a cold room. The same thing for your program. You don't want your fundraiser, the person who's going to have this pivotal night of success with you, to walk into a cold room. So every person who speaks before them and everything that comes after them should be a cohesive story and a cohesive flow. We should have a ribbon that flows through it all, where we're all edifying from one piece to the next piece to the next piece. So what is your MC saying in terms of setting expectations? Are people saying, when it comes time to give, I need you to give? That person you paid $10,000 to come out and make an appearance at your event, are they even saying give? And are they even committed to saying, hey, if we give you $10,000, you ask for this, can you make a gift of the other $2,000 to it? Do they believe in what you're doing? It all starts before that moment. And if you put them on there, yes, an auctioneer can bring the room back, but it's not completely on them again. So when you're working with them ahead of time and behind the scenes before the event even happens, most of your fundraising raising happens because of what you plan and how you do it. That's how you get your whole room engaged. 100% giving to us may mean that 100 people in the room raised their paddle, but how many of those people were couples? How many of them were family members and it's one household? So is it 100% household giving? We can't just say things and not truly define what that means. And then once we know what it truly means, we plan it all out to happen that way. But don't give your fundraiser or whomever the person is, your auctioneer, a cold room. Make sure they're warmed up with everything that happens first.
Olivia, yeah, I'm writing down all of these, warm hug, your ribbon
Yeah.
should flow through the hall. All these one-liners are amazing, TK. Thank you. Olivia, I know you have something to add right
Yeah.
here
So,
about
so the
that.
warm hug really resonates, but I'm going to go one step further and I'm going to say it has to be a year-long warm hug. It can't just be one hug at the event. I give you a hug, you give me money, doesn't work. You need to communicate before the event and even more importantly after the event. Keep them updated. And after the event, your thank yous, please don't wait. I know we're all exhausted after events. Prep everything so that really the week after the event you can have that touch point because your donor will still have the memory of the event fresh in their mind and they're gonna feel not that they want to. Yeah, they want to be thanked. They want that warm hug, and the appreciation, and then keep the communication going. Don't just show your head once a year and say, that was it. And so I think that is also where you really build your community. And the community, as TK said, can spread the word. It doesn't all have to be you. So I think it has a ripple effect to really keep your donors warmly involved year long.
Casey, what comes to mind for you now that you've heard?
Yeah. I
The
mean,
great
great things from the panel, obviously. I think that for me, part of what I wanted to mention was something similar to what TK brought up is this idea of energy management, not just the agenda of what we want to do during our program or all the boxes we have to check, but how it's flowing and creating the environment that we want so that we're going through the what do we want them to feel, how do we want them to respond, piece of it. So I think that, it's mission immersion. Stats are great. Some people respond really great to numbers, but overall, most of us are going to respond best to being, part of a shared experience. So hearing from, people, real people, participation moments like Joe mentioned. I think if guests can sit back and passively consume an event, it's not experiential, they're not involved. So I'm a big believer in language being important. And so I try not to call our guests an audience because an audience implies they are not participatory, right? So we want people who are coming and are participating in the event, not just coming and, sitting back and experiencing, something as a passive participant. So the energy management, the flow, and then I think the personal relevance. Why do the people in this room matter to the mission? What's the impact that this room has? Because if we can't quantify it for the event, they could just be individual donors, right? What is it about a signature event? And I think some of it is that pre-work that TK alluded to of, creating people who are invested, who are going to be your lead anchor gifts, who are going to, pledge a matching gift that encourages others in the room to meet them in their commitment, right? So I've pledged $20,000, but up to that amount if we can get X number of people to donate at the $2,500 level. Come meet me here and let's raise $40,000, at this level or something like that. We want those experiences where people are feeling a part of it and they know what they're accomplishing and they know what the impact is. I think that all of those are really important, but what I come back to the most is making it hard for people to just sit back and passively consume. If someone's determined not to participate, you can't force them, right? But to create an environment where it's hard to do that because the excitement in the room and what you've built compels people to act and participate.
Yeah, I never thought about, I mean, it's always been an audience to me. I'm going to fix that right away.
Mhm.
It's not a hard and fast rule, but I think it's a great mindset
Yeah,
for
yeah,
us on the planning side.
for sure. All right, let's help Juliet out. She has a burning question. So whoever wants to take this, and I think this comes to what Casey is talking about, right? Like you want to have the right audience, but if your donor base is primarily board contacts, and the board isn't bringing in new contacts, how do we help the organization to nurture and bring in a new group that's going to be aligned, that so that we can be like all the things that we're talking about? How do we connect the dots for Juliet? Her question is, our donor base is primarily board contacts. If the board isn't bringing in new contacts, suggestions for the organization to reach new contacts to nurture. Whoever wants to take that, that's a tough one.
I
I
think.
Go ahead, Joe.
Good. I just think you have to you have to look a little further than the board. So of course, it's their job to do whatever they came on the board to be able to do, bring new donors on board. But I think you have to look a little bit beyond them if you're trying to grow your donor base. It's who has volunteered for your organization recently, who participates in your programming and their families, just everyone who touches your organization, you need to take a look at. Another good practice is to maybe look at some similar organizations or organizations that are providing, similar services in either your region or area or the next region, the next door region, and look at who their supporters are. I used to work for United Way, which seems in another lifetime, but one of the most powerful things that they did year after year at My United Way was they printed a book of all of their different levels of givers, sponsors and things like that throughout the year, and they handed it out throughout the community. And I think things like that, you'll start to notice people here and there that you can reach out to for support, for volunteering, and hopefully eventually, becoming donors.
Hmm. And
Anyone else?
I'll and Joe, to add to that, because that's really good. That's my first thought. The board does have their role, but we can't say that the board is the only one who's responsible. This is still a volunteer position, and we have to recognize that and honor that role. But you have donors who are showing up that may not be on your board. You can make them, I love the term battle buddies as a veteran. So can they have battle buddies where they're bringing in someone who may want to hear about the organization? If you're a school district and you have a new project coming up, are there construction companies who want to bid on your project? Are these people who want to be in the room seeing doing good work? If you are something that's in a medical field, is there a hospital that's being built or a new doctor's office that says, I need patients, that you can engage and get them in the room? Find people in your community who are intrinsically engaged and aligned to the type of work that you do. And once you get those people in, let that be it. But don't be afraid to ask your donors, anyone you have contact with, much like Joe said, they can also be an extension. They can bring a date, a plus one, a someone they never heard of. And do you have the capacity to even say, hey, here's an extra ticket. Can you bring someone who you think would get value from learning about our mission and love to be a part of it? Find those sweet spots, but thank your board for what they do. Keep them engaged. And a fun note that is kind of adjacent to this, when you're thinking about your board, many times we know people and we know them so well that we don't think about the opportunities of, I know someone who is a regional manager at Neiman Marcus. I had a group that was looking for a gift from Neiman Marcus because their person left. Never thought about this because this person is just my friend. To me, they're not the person at Neiman Marcus. Once you get past that point with your board of thinking about the obvious connections, have someone in your staff go through and see who they're connected to on LinkedIn that you may want to be connected to. They don't necessarily need to make the introduction for you, but they can say, hey, can you tell me anything about reaching out to this person that can help me land a conversation and get in front of them? So don't be afraid to do some of that work yourself and dig and make your board members remember who they know, because to them, that person may just be Bob and not Bob, who's the regional manager at Neiman
Yeah.
Marcus.
Well,
Oh, I
and to
love
your
both.
point, TK, that's like I actually served on a board that was in a kind of similar situation, that it was a new organization. It was hard to kind of bring people in. And I think what was missing in reflecting on that experience was that it was the staff from the organization was continuously relying on the board to manage those relationships with their contacts, right? Rather than kind of making them the first degree LinkedIn contact, right? And so my advice to the person who asked this question would be to make sure that the organization, that the staff is taking that initiative to cultivate the relationship directly with that person
Mhm.
rather than going through the person that you know, or going through the board member, and connecting the person directly to the organization rather than to just the board member, because ultimately, like, board member terms end, right, and folks move on and they're not going to be there forever. And so you want their connections to be connected to the organization, which is going to outlast any particular staff member or any particular board member.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's so important, Chris. That's what I was going to say is it sounds like you have such a good base with a board that has been very involved and brought in their contacts. And now it's taking that and you build the relationship with those contacts. The board member is your, your introduction in, and now you've got to cultivate and, steward those relationships so that they're not, these are the board members people, these are our supporters that have been coming to our event for several years, and they're our donors, and these relationships belong to us. And then those people might, you might build out a committee and they might be bringing in new people, and you start building your reach, phone tree
Right.
style, where now we are connecting with this person and this person's reaching out to their 10 people, and and we're growing that way. So I would say, top of the list, in addition to the great other suggestions of like what are the other places we can look, but there's such a strong foundation in what you have now, and really investing in those relationships, I think is going to be a great first step.
Sounds
And,
like
and
other
and
whole.
one aspect that is often forgotten and a lot of money is left on the table is sponsors, and bringing in those sponsors also into the conversation. So sponsors oftentimes can bring a guest, or sometimes they just, as an organization, as a company, send people, and they think about who would have fun at the event. They don't think about the mission. They already love supporting the mission and the organization, otherwise they wouldn't be sponsors. But it's just not on their mind to fill the room or help fill the room with guests who might also themselves become future donors and supporters of the organization. What we see over and over again is a law firm sponsors, and you get a table full of first year interns. No offense to the interns, but at that point they're still broke. They're there for the party, right? They don't want to spend any more money. They don't have money to spend. So it would be much more fruitful to pick up the phone. Joe, you said it, pick up the phone, call that law firm partner and say, hey, thank you so much for being a valued sponsor to our organization. When you think about your guest list, please consider conveying our mission to them, and maybe invite people who can be participants in the room.
So let's talk. Yeah, I love all of this. It sounds like we need another whole session just on board management. So I'm going to go on that and bring you all back so we can do a part two. But we're talking, I think, about revenue and opportunities. So let's bring it back to the signature event. What new opportunities for revenue or engagement does the signature event, afford you, that you should be thinking about, that maybe you just didn't do in a regular fundraising event? Casey, can we start with you?
Yeah, well, I actually love what Livia was just saying, because I think your sponsorship strategy is a huge piece of the revenue puzzle, that a lot of us are not engaging enough, right? Like, we all know the value of getting sponsorship dollars, but who is in the room from your sponsors is hugely important. And creating sponsorship packages that encourage them to engage in that way, right? So tiered sponsorship is great, but I would encourage also, looking at custom sponsorships that really cater to a sponsor that you're trying to either bring in or, grow to a different tier level, those relational connections with a sponsor where they're not just your corporate sponsor, they're a major donor. And you are building relationships there. And again, I think coming back to similar to the conversation we were having about the board is having your own ties there, right? So one of the things that I think happens a lot with nonprofits is whether it's a volunteer leader or a connection at a sponsor or even a staff member who's really dynamic, sometimes one person is the linchpin for a lot of our connections with donors. And if that person leaves our organization, leaves the sponsor that, the sponsor company that we had worked with, whatever the case may be, people don't stay in one role forever. And then a whole pipeline that we had falls apart. So we need to have, I think, layers of connection and multiple connections with those. So I think our sponsorship strategy is huge there. But I think that there's also, new ways of thinking about signature events and the pre-event fundraising that you're doing in terms of ambassador fundraising or kind of adding that peer-to-peer element, right? So I think a lot of us have seen that in Dancing with the Stars type events and things like that. But we're seeing a lot of success with that being incorporated where our honoree might have an ambassador page, our chairs might, certain committee chairs, subcommittee chairs might, where they are fundraising in advance of the event. They have this leadership position and they're saying, I'd love for you to be there. Please come. And if you can't come, please still donate to the event. This is important to me, and this is why it's important, and here's the impact. And I think that digital giving strategy pre-event is something that we're really looking to tap into more, and we're seeing good success with. And then that fund a mission or appeal optimization that we referenced earlier of planning ahead, knowing who are going to be your lead anchor gifts, having pre-commits in the room for certain levels so that you have an idea of where you're going to be at. I think one of the biggest mistakes we make in nonprofits is saying, well, we're just going to make the ask and we'll see what happens, right? Like that's not strategy, and we need to be strategic. We've got goals and we need to figure out how we're meeting them, and it helps us understand our pacing, where we think we're going to be for the event, and how we can help make up where we think there's a missing gap, right? Like maybe one of our major donors can't make it to our event this year. They might still make the same donation they have at our appeal, but they might not. They might make that somewhere else. And how are we going to make up for that at the event? And I think that that's a huge part of it. So I think the thing to remember is that our revenue doesn't increase just because our experience improves. It increases when we design the event to drive the behavior and we do the strategic planning in advance.
I love that. Yeah, I know everybody on this panel agrees. So many good one-liners here. TK, I'd love to turn it to you. Opportunities on something that feels signature, different from, a general fundraiser event. What do you have for us?
So I love a good themed event. And so someone who has their signature event. So I just finished this call, so it's top of mind, but with an organization that is all about sustainability. So they bring in chefs, and their chefs focus on sustainability, teaching you how to cook and prepare meals that are relevant to seasons, but they let nothing go to waste that night, from making stocks off of the top of carrots. And they teach you these things, and they actually show what's happening in this process, to having an event that may care about heart disease or stroke and things of that nature, where they're teaching you how to do hands-only CPR during their cocktail hour, and having competitions and songs that say this song goes with hands-only CPR. And if you didn't know, This Is How You Do It by Montel Jordan, you can absolutely do hands-only CPR to that if you ever just need a boost to get it done. But finding that thing that makes you unique and special. I saw one of the questions in the chat that actually makes me think of another way to answer this question, though. It was about a rebranding of a center for seniors. When I think about that event, having a sock hop, because for the subset of where we are with seniors now, makes absolute sense. but also making sure that we can show the difference in that night. If we're saying that senior centers aren't this place where seniors just go to live out life, but it's a place where they are actually living, then let's make sure that we're being intentional in that and the people that we bring in the relationships. So what makes our sock hop different is that we're bringing in children to be a part of this, to come in and dance. And we might have a line dancing section. We may have a something where you're getting to work with art. But saying our signature event is all about changing the perception of X and actually doing that at your signature event. Nothing says it has to follow the 1 hour cocktail reception, sit down and get called to dinner. We acknowledge our sponsors, we give an award, we raise some money, and done. You can absolutely do it differently by saying, instead of this, we recognize our sponsors by having them come out with a dance that they've practiced with one of our seniors. That's how our sponsors get acknowledged. You can change it up and make it signature and feel really good and honest to who you are.
Yeah. Oh, such powerful stuff. All right, we're going to go round robin. I want you to just give me one, maybe two lines, real quick, short, succinct, one piece of advice for a nonprofit that's in our crowd audience. I'm using the word audience and I feel bad, but one line. If we're giving advice, how do we turn an annual event into something more signature, more anticipated? We're going to go to each of you. Just give me one line. We're going to do a lightning round. Casey, let's start with you.
I think I have to go back to my design your events around the outcomes. What do you want people to feel? What do you want them to do? How do you want them to respond as a result of being in that room with you? I think that for me, that's the primary thought.
Okay, Chris, your one or two lines.
I'm going to say be creative, but not gimmicky, and stay focused on the fundamentals, the person-to-person relationships that drive the success of all good fundraising organizations.
Joe, you're up. Lightning round.
One of the things that I've seen people, nonprofits to help them to be more successful in getting sponsorships for signature events like this is flipping the conversations with the sponsors. Instead of going in guns blazing, pitching about why they should be a sponsor for your event, it's asking them about what's important to them and their organization in this community, and let them talk, let them tell you. And like Casey said, maybe you design a custom package based on what they're saying.
Yeah, I love that. Invite them in, right? Instead of pitching them. I love that. Okay, Livia, what's your one or two lines of advice?
Ensure a smooth guest experience. From start to finish, the guest needs to feel special, wanted, thanked. And that goes from pre-event, during the event, after the event, because at the end of the day, a happy guest makes an event really signature and sustainable and successful.
And I think you would also say it's not just, before, during, and after. It's 365 days, right? I think.
Yes,
I know you all about
it's that year-long cycle, and don't forget about them for 9 months of the year.
Yep. Okay, TK, bring us home. What's that one or two lines of advice you got?
To make it signature, give your audience a named experience that they can anticipate. The wall of why, the lights down moment, the moment that we shone. And that's the moment that they take and they think about year after year and say, oh, you were here when this happened. Give it a signature, give it a moment, give it a title, and make sure that people know it's coming and that they're excited about it.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Well, there's definitely a part two, I think, but we want to be respectful of everybody's time. So we want to thank you so much for being a fantastic audience today. Before we let you go, another quick invite. We do have an upcoming webinar. We hope you can join us. You'll receive that link probably in the chat right now, but in the post-webinar wrap-up. So we try to make them all very special, different, and good. So we do hope if this was helpful, you'll want more content from us and you'll join us next month. So next from Auction Packages, if you're in the DMV area, DC, Maryland, Virginia, I just learned what DMV meant. We do have in-person events. So please join us for Behind the Bid. You can get that information in the chat or from Sarah. Just reach out to us at hello@Auction Packages. We'd love to tell you more about that, but that's happening June 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Please also expect the Whole Package podcast, and I hope every panelist here is going to join me as a guest coming up on that new show that will be dropping very soon. So really hope to see you on both of those channels. Okay, and very quickly, a little shameless plug before we go. We dropped 3 new packages yesterday from Auction Packages. So right for your golf tournaments, distinctive greens and getaways, and then a couple of other exciting packages. So sorry for that shameless plug, but I just wanted to keep you all up to date with what's going on here. I think that's all we have for you today. Truly, before we close, a sincere thank you first to our panelists. Your time, your perspective, your expertise. It's just means the world to us that you'll share a piece of yourself with everyone. And to our audience, thank you for being here. We know your time is just as valuable, but more importantly, the work that you're doing every day is what really matters and why we're here today. So thank you for your events and your signature events that are strengthening communities and just all the moments that bring people together. We recognize you, we appreciate you, and we're here to help in any way you need us. So we're truly grateful to be part of it. If you have a minute, please complete the survey, especially because I want to give somebody a $100 Amazon gift card. But thank you again, and we hope to see you all soon.